This is CPM Precalculus, Chapter 1, number 72. So here we're asked to solve these equations. We have A, B, C, and D, and there's a little symbol to the right that has the calculator crossed out. So that means do not use a calculator for this one. If you need to use a calculator, figure out what you needed it for and try to practice that skill because you want to be able to do this one without a calculator. Okay, so A, here's an equation, right? It has an equal sign, and we just want to solve for x. So what we're going to have to do here is distribute this 3, distribute this, well, look at the sign and know that that means plus negative, right? We're minus, the subtraction means add a negative, so we're going to distribute that negative 2, and then we're going to combine like terms, put all the x's on one side of the equation, and divide by any fraction that we need to get x alone, right? Because we want to get finally the answer x equals whatever. So let's distribute the 3 first. We get 3x minus 6 plus, right? We change it to a plus. So we're distributing the negative 2x, negative plus negative 14 equals 2x plus 17. So now let's just combine like terms. 3x and negative 2x make 1x, right? 1x, we don't need to write the 1. Negative 6, so we did these two. Negative 6 and negative 14 make 20, plus negative 20 equals 2x plus 17. Okay, so now let's subtract 2x from both sides. We get negative x minus 20 equals 17. Let's add 20 to both sides. And we get negative x equals to 37. Divide both sides by negative 1. This cancels this on the left, so we get just x. 37 divided by negative 1 is negative 37. Okay, so this is the answer to part A. Now B. B's equation is x squared plus 3x minus 10 equals to 0. Okay, so part B. We can do this in a few different ways. Well, 2 to be precise. One is we can factor this. Okay, factoring this means we want to separate it into terms that we multiply. So how do we factor this into two terms, right? Well, we can use our diamond method where we want to multiply two numbers to get negative 10 and add them to get 3. Okay, so you could check, well, negative 10 to be multiplied to get that could be 1 and negative 10, so that's not going to get 3. 2 times 5, okay, so if it's negative 2 and positive 5, that works, okay? So that means we use these here over here. So we have x minus 2, right, and x plus 5 here. Okay, so that's how we factor. And then we can just, from here, we know if we multiply x minus 2 times, right, we're multiplying these, times x plus 5, it equals to 0. From here, we can separate this and say that this means either x minus 2 equals to 0 or x plus 5 equals to 0, right? Because if you're multiplying these two and it equals to 0, one of them or both of them have to equal to 0. So now that we have these two small equations, we can just solve for x. Add 2 to both sides, x equals to 2, or subtract 5 from both sides, x equals to negative 5. Okay, and that is our answer for part B. We have two possible answers, x being negative 2 or x being negative 5. Now I want to show you quickly how we could have solved this same equation using the quadratic formula, right? Quadratic formula looks at an ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0 equation, a quadratic equation, and we can solve for x using x equals to negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac, everything divided by 2a. Well, everything on the right. X is not divided by 2a. Neither is the equation sign. Okay? So, a x squared, so whatever is in front of the x squared term, x squared is here, a is just this invisible 1, because we know we have a 1x squared, so a equals to 1 here, right? Let me write it here. A is equal to 1. B is being multiplied by x, so that's here. B is equal to 3. And C is the term without any x. So C is negative 10. So we plug into our quadratic equation. We get x equals to negative b. Well, negative b is negative 3 plus or minus square root of b squared is 3 squared minus 4a is 1 times c is negative 10. Let me make this square root go over all of that and divide this by 2 times a, which is 2 times 1. So let's simplify that. Negative 3 plus or minus square root of 3 times 3 is 9, minus 4 times 1 times negative 10. So this is a negative here and a negative here. That means plus 440, because 4 times 1 is 4, times 10 is 40, divided by 2. Okay, so then that's equal to negative 3 plus or minus square root of 49 divided by 2. And that's equal to negative 3 plus or minus 7, which is the square root of 49 divided by 2. And from there, we get two different possible answers. We get the or, because we're doing plus or minus. So negative 3 plus 7, negative 3 plus 7 divided by 2, or negative 3 minus 7 divided by 2. Negative 3 plus 7 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Or negative 3 minus 7 is negative 10. Negative 10 divided by 2 is negative 5. So here we get x equals to 2 or negative 5. And that's the same thing we got when we did it with factoring, right? X equals to negative 2 or negative 5. So I'm going to show you part B could be done in either way, just like part C can be done in either way too. So let's do C. C is x squared minus 7x equals to negative 12. Okay, so this one, if we wanted to use the quadratic formula, we need to find a, b, and c. So we get x squared minus 7x. So let's set it equal to 0, because the quadratic equation to use the quadratic formula needs to be equal to 0. So add 12 to both sides. Plus 12 equals to 0. Okay, so this gives us a equals to, what's in front of the x squared? 1. B equals to negative 7. And C equals to 12. Okay, so we can plug those in to our quadratic formula, and that's one way of doing this. Another way is, again, factoring, right? And what numbers multiply together to get 12, right? And add together to get negative 7. Okay, so let's see. 4 times 3 is 12, so negative 4 and negative 3. Okay, so it's going to be x minus 3 and x minus 4. And again, if we're multiplying numbers and they equal 0, only if they equal 0, then we can split it up. X minus 3 equals 0, or x minus 4 equals to 0. We solve for x plus 3. We get x equal to 3, or plus 4, x equals to 4. Okay, so for part C, our answer is x equals to 3, or x equals to 4. Oops, let me box it a little better than that. Okay, and if we use the quadratic equation, we're going to get the same answers. Okay? Okay, so let's move on to part D. D, we start with the equation x cubed plus x squared equals to 6x. And we're solving for like the equation for the value of x, it's helpful, first of all, to have it set equal to 0. So let's subtract 6x from both sides. We get x cubed plus x squared minus 6x equals to 0. So now we have it equal to 0. We cannot use the quadratic equation on this just like this because we don't have a squared term as our biggest term. We have a cubed to the third power. So what can we do? Well, let's notice, can we factor anything out of each term? Why, yes, each term has x, okay? So if we take x out of x cubed, we're left with x squared. If we take x out of x squared, we're left with just x. If we take the x out of the 6x here, we have just 6. Okay? Again, we have two things being multiplied, right, to get to equal to 0. So from here we know x equals to 0, or x squared plus x minus 6 equals to 0. Okay? So this part is already solved. So we know x equals to 0 is one of our solutions, right? X can be 0, and this will be true. Or whatever x is here, whatever we find that to be, will be a solution as well. Okay, so this we can use two methods. We can, we can do our quadratic formula with a 1, b 1, and c is -6. Or we could factor this. So if we factor this, factor, we know we want terms to multiply to get -6, right? Or add to get +1. So what are factors of 6? Well, 1 and 6, 2 and 3. Okay, so 2 and 3, if 3 is positive and 2 is negative, they multiply and get -6 and add to get 1. So there we go. We can then make this equal to x minus 2 from here times x plus 3. Okay, and just like we did here, we split it up. We can split it up again and say x minus 2 equals to 0, or x plus 3 equals to 0. Okay, solving for x, we add 2 to both sides. X equals to 2, or subtract 3 from both sides. X equals to -3. Okay, so don't forget our x equals to 0 because that is also one of the possible solutions. So we have x equals to 0, or x equals to 2, right? Or x equals to -3. So part D has 3 possible answers for x. And that goes along with the cube here, that 3, the biggest power in our equation. We'll learn more about this later, but kind of talks about there's 3 possible answers. Okay, so this ends CPM Precalculus Chapter 1, number 72.